Hi, I'm Jenny, coach and NLP practitioner, helping people design their life after divorce and separation. How on earth do you design your life when everything feels so difficult? Your emotions are all over the place, you have kids to look after, you feel as if you're drowning, you're worried about money, there's a recession coming now, and I'm asking you to design your life. So how do you do that? How do you get the energy to even look at it and to even start? So designing your life isn't about getting out a massive sheet of paper and drawing a fine line architecture drawing, although if that's your thing, that can be helpful. I know Matt quite often gets out reams of rolls of big paper and lays it across the living room and writes everything out. But it is about consciously deciding that you're going to plan out the next steps of your life instead of heading in a random direction, hoping that the wind will just take you somewhere that you like, but you don't actually know. And it's a bit like, I think of it as the seed blowing in the wind. So the seed leaves the plant, and if we think of a dandelion, and it blows away in the wind, and it's at the mercy of the wind as to where it lands. And that could be in a garden where it gets mowed up immediately and that's it, like no more dandelion. Or it could be somewhere where the birds will eat it. Or it could be somewhere like my garden where I encourage dandelions. I like dandelions and I tend to mow around them, much to my parents' chagrin too, actually. They're like, oh, why are the weeds all over your garden? But I think they're really important for the bees. So I leave my dandelions. So they're nurtured in that space. And if you think about a tree seed, so a tree seed might go off and be planted somewhere where there's lots of trees and there's not enough resources for it to survive on its own. Or it might find a lovely space where it can grow into a big tree and where it doesn't get pulled out. So that's how I think about designing our lives. It's getting the seed out of the packet, finding the right size pot for it, putting it in, choosing where it's going to go in the right sunlight, the right water and all of that kind of stuff to help that seed grow instead of just the wind blowing and hoping for the best. And the thing with a plant is it's got thousands and thousands of seeds because they don't know, like nature has realised that with thousands of seeds, the odds are some of them are going to live a fulfilling life to create more seeds. But we have one human life. One, unless you have other beliefs, but as things stand, as we know, we have one life. So are we going to let the wind blow us whatever direction, or are we going to have a help in deciding where we want it to go and not leave it to chance? So this is not to say that I'm against the idea of manifesting and that I'm against the thought of some kind of fate. And the good old line that I used to hear all the time is, what's for you won't go by you. So in many ways, those things have served me well. It stopped me from being really disappointed when things haven't gone how I wanted, or we've not got a house that we were looking at, or something's happened. And when we say, what's for you won't go by you, it's like, oh, okay, I can live it. Something better is coming. So I've used that as a positive of managing disappointment when things haven't happened. So, but with all of this stuff in manifestation, everything, I believe that without taking intentional action towards what you want, we're leaving up to chance. I don't believe, and lots of people do, and it's fine, but I personally don't believe that we sit in our living room and we expect to have this amazing life and we just sit in the living room and we wish for it and it appears. I don't believe that. I don't believe that you sit there thinking about your perfect man or woman and they knock on the door and deliver you your pizza and they're the perfect person for you. I don't believe that. I believe that you can look at my article about how to manifest your perfect man, how I did it. I believe you write down your intentions, what you want, and then you have to take action. So for me, it was going on a dating app, but it could have been joining a club, or there could have been all sorts of ways of doing that. But if I just sat in my living room, the chances of me meeting someone new were fairly slim. So it's about, again, I quite like to be in control. I'm less of a control freak than I used to be, but I like to be in control. So I like to know where my life's going. I used to be anxious all the time about what was coming next, what's coming next. But it was because I wasn't creating a structured direction. I was just worrying all the time about what might happen. So when I talk about designing your life, I talk about looking at the outcome you want and the steps to get there. And those steps can be really, really small steps. I'm going to give you some tools about how to actually go about designing your life. And the first tool I'm going to suggest you need is courage. Because it takes courage to work on yourself. It takes courage to say what you want. It takes courage to actually put that stake in the ground and go, this is what I want and this is what I'm aiming for. And to then tell people about it. So courage is something that is really helpful. If you don't have it yet, we can build it. And that takes me to the next one, confidence. If you don't feel confident in designing your life or in the things that you want your outcome to be, so if you want your outcome to be a certain thing but you don't feel confident in that, it's something that you don't have yet, but you can definitely learn it. So confidence, as I always say, it's a skill. Because it's a skill, it can be learned. A healthy money mindset. Now, I would never have told you this 5 years ago. Healthy money mindset wouldn't have been on my list of tools. I now know, since dealing with my own money mindset, how having an unhealthy one can really impact every aspect of your life, from your relationships to your career to your self-worth. And if you don't have a good relationship with money, it can infiltrate every single thing. So I would say money mindset is huge for designing the life that you want. It's not about actually having or working towards loads of money. It might be, but it might not be. So it's not about that. It's just about money not affecting you in any way, direction-wise. And that's especially important given that we are heading towards a recession. The willingness to try. Now, I'm a bit skeptical about the word try because quite often people say, oh, I'll try, with no intention. Like that's just their fob off of, yeah, I'll try to make it, but they know they're never going to make it. They just don't want to say no. So, but a willingness to try in this remit is you have to want to start. You're going to give it a go. So if you're willing to actually give it a go. Realism. So look at yourself with an open mind. It's really hard. If you're constantly thinking that life is everyone else's fault, everyone's out to get you, it's not your fault because of X, Y, Z, you're going to struggle to design your life because you've given control and you've handed it to someone else. And you said, my life is not in my control, it's in your control because everything that happens to me, I get shafted all the time. Here's my control, I'll give it back to you. And then there's the people that take the blame for everything in their life. It's my fault, I've done. And again, that can be really difficult then to move forward. So we're looking for some realism, and write down the things that you're telling yourself. So what are you, somebody who blames everyone else? Are you somebody that constantly blames yourself? It needs to be a good balance of getting rid of blame, actually. Let's just get rid of blame. It's not their fault, it's not your fault, it's just stuff that's happened, and you maybe didn't react to it in the best way, and you can learn how to do that. Okay, be willing to put in the work. It's hard to design your life. It's hard to make changes. It's hard to develop yourself personally. It's hard to grow, but it's worth it. So if you don't do it, it can be even more painful. Time. How many people have told me they don't have the time? Literally hundreds don't have the time. But they do have the time to watch box sets on Netflix, and they do have the time to scroll social media, and they do have the time to go. So it's about prioritising. Yes, we have kids to deal with, and there's things that we have to do for kids. We have partners, perhaps, we have jobs. There are things that we have to deal with. But does that mean we actually have no time? Because if you have half an hour every single day, that adds up to quite a lot of time if you just do those things. A clear goal. So have you ever heard the saying, if we aim for the stars, you might hit the moon? It's a bit like that. So if we aim into the darkness, we don't know where we're going. We don't know what we're going to hit. It could be an asteroid. It could be a planet. We just don't know if we aim into the darkness. So if we aim for something, we might hit something else, which might be better for us. It might be the right thing. It might have just come along at that point because we were going in a direction that we'd planned. But if we're just shooting into the darkness, we don't know where we're going to end up. It could be great. Like, we could end up on the best planet in the world with beautiful, like, Earth-like qualities without all the destruction. Or we could end up hitting an asteroid. We just don't know. And that's the thing. The next one, acceptance that things may change along the way. But knowledge that you can actually navigate those things. So that's a big thing. So things might change, but that's okay. You can navigate them. Support. So this is the one is crucial for me. I always say it's possible to do anything on your own. You can read books, you can watch YouTube, you can do lots of things, but there is nothing like sitting eyeball to eyeball with somebody else, telling them what you're going to do and having them challenge you and being held accountable and having somebody to cheerlead. And that could be a family member, but quite often family members have a perception of you. So they think of you in a certain way, and that's, you've put in that box for them. You're in that box and that's how you are. And therefore they'll do everything to protect that image of you because they like that image. And they don't want you to step out of the box and be different because they're comfortable with how you are. So find somebody who's non-judgmental, who doesn't want to hold you back because it suits their agenda, because that happens a lot and it's not out of meanness. Most of the time it's out of love and kindness. So they're not being mean. They're just trying to protect you and themselves. So find a cheerleader. For me, it's always going to be a coach or a therapist, whatever is going on at that moment. But choose your cheerleader wisely. So here's some questions I would start asking yourself in order to start designing your life. What is your priority? And this comes under the time thing, like not having time. If you stay where you are now for a long time, how is that going to feel? And if you have kids, I want you to check about your feeling about how you feel about prioritizing yourself. Do you get a sense of guilt? If you don't have kids even, how do you feel about prioritizing yourself? I want to be really clear on how you feel about prioritizing yourself, because if you find that you're filled with guilt, that you think is a terrible thing, you're going to struggle to design the life that you want, because you're going to be constantly looking. And it's not that we don't look at who we impact with things, but when that's the first thing in your mind, you're going to stop yourself at every single corner. But I would like you to ask, what happens if you don't prioritize you? I would also, a bit like the cheerleader thing that I've just said, is who benefits from you staying as you are? If you don't change, who benefits from that? There will be lots of people that benefit from that, particularly if you're people pleasing, because people love the fact that you people please. It means you do everything for them and they don't have to do anything. So just be very, very aware of who benefits from you staying as you are. Who benefits from you changing? So it could be your kids, it could be your partner. Your people could benefit from you changing and not living the life that you're living now. What happens, and I've already sort of touched on this, but what happens if life is still like this in 5 years? How does that make you feel? Where do you feel it in your body? Does that feel okay? Or does that feel terrible? If life is still exactly the same as it is today in 5 years' time, how does that feel? Write a list of all the things you want in your life. Relationships, money, how you feel about yourself, your career. Just write your list, what you really want. Don't filter it. Like, nobody has to ever see it. You can literally say that you want to run off with the circus and become a trapeze artist if you want. Like anything goes, absolutely anything that you really, truly, deeply want. Don't filter it at all. That is the first step. If you are terrified about designing your life and you're feeling totally overwhelmed, please let me know. You can let me know in the comments. You can send me an email. You can contact me via my website. I am here to help you. If you would like to join my Facebook group, which is Design Your Life After Divorce, there's the steps. So I'm in contact in there several times a week. I do posts, I get you to think about certain things. So it's a really gentle way of moving into this world of how you design your life. If you would like to join us in that group, the link's down below in the comments. We'd love to see you there. Please remember to like, subscribe, hit the notification bells, all the things that we like you to do, and remember to have a really powerful day.